Welcome to another edition of College Basketball Net Profit right here on Pub Sports Radio, Wednesday, November 23rd, Thanksgiving Eve. Ian Cameron, Conor Mack, ready to break down the Wednesday college basketball slate. We've got a bunch of good conference or neutral court tournament games still to come tonight. Lots of good action still to come here on this Wednesday slate. And some marquee games. The Maui Invitational wraps up as well tonight. So looking forward to breaking that all down. Before we get into the night card, there's a game that's just about to tip off here. It's Creighton and Arizona, Conor Mack. It's the Maui Invitational Championship game. I've got it on actually right now. It's just about to start here, this game, the big championship game. It is Creighton, Arizona. Right now, we've got Arizona 3-point favorites, 164 and a half the total. I mean, I ain't stepping in front of this Wildcats team. They're that good right now. Incredible performance by them in this event so far. And for them against San Diego State to still put up 87 against by far the best team in defense they've played. They're a scary group right now, this Wildcats team with Ramey and Tubelis, Ballo, the big center. I mean, these guys run the floor like, marathon sprinters. I mean, or like 100-meter dash sprinters, I should say. It's ridiculous what they're able to do offensively right now. Very impressive. I ain't stepping in front of them. That being said, Creighton's been pretty freaking impressive too. Kalkbrenner has been great. Ryan Nemhard's healthy, and you see what he delivers at the point guard spot. What a fucking game that was, them in Arkansas last night. It's one of the better college basketball games you'll see. I lean Arizona. I didn't bet a side, but I'm not stepping in front of Arizona. So for that reason, I lean Arizona. And I lean over again. It's a high number. You worry, though, championship game. Maybe you get some defense, some intensity on that end of the floor, especially late if it's a close game. And it's a high number, 164. Finally, we did get an Arizona game to stay under that San Diego State game last night. So that's where I stand. I lean Arizona in the over, but I don't love either one. How about you, Conor?
Yeah, I found the problem last night. San Diego State kind of reverted back to his old ways. Couldn't make a shot. That team couldn't hit zero. That was, I think, the major problem with them. And they just got down. You know what? This Creighton team, even back to the tournament when Nebhart and Kalkbrenner were out, they almost beat Kansas. I think this team's pretty good. It's just, to me, it's a coin flip. I get people like Arizona. But if I were to bet this, and maybe they get down here live, we get out here, maybe I'll bet it second half. I like Creighton a little bit. If I could get a good number, I think this should be a good game. There's a lot of these games today. And by the way, I think the total's gone way too high. It seems like these teams will easily get in the 80s. So maybe the total will be close, but I'd be on the under.
All right. So, and that, by the way, they've just started. They're in the first minute here, Creighton and Arizona. So we are underway in the Maui Invitational final. Lots of game to go. So we'll try to get through this card so I can watch this thing. All right. LSU and Kansas State next up here. This one, of course, taking place in the Cayman Islands Classic. This is the final of the Cayman Islands Classic. Kansas State 1.5-point home favorites, 136.5 the total in this one. I mean, brutal beat for me with the best bet on Nevada. They're either leading or tied or within like 2 or 3 points the whole game, getting 4.5. It goes to overtime and they lose by 9. I mean, what are you going to do? Tough beat. What can you say? Yeah. It's not like it was a horrible bet. It was just an unfortunate result. Give Kansas State credit. They're starting to solidify and justify the strong start they've had, because that was by far the toughest game they've played, Nevada, toughest team they've played, and they still got the job done. So it's a really good K-State team. This is another test for them, though. LSU's playing some really good ball early in the season. I'm done fading Kansas State. In fact, I've been backing Kansas State. I faded them last night because I thought, hey, they're taking a step up in class. They're not going to handle it, and they still win and cover against Nevada. So I'd actually lean K-State again. They've convinced me. They're playing some really good basketball right now, but so is LSU. It's more of a watch game for me as far as I'm concerned. The total's been hammered down, 142 to 136.5. Huge move to the under in this game. Anything here, Conor? LSU, Kansas State.
Yeah, that was a rough break, but those happen. I got my ass whipped last night. I'm lucky. I took St. John's too late last night, and I thought I was going to lose that one.
That overtime went well for me in that game, so it didn't go well.
Yep, that's how it works. But it's just how it is when you bet college basketball. You know what? K-State has looked good. They've played a little bit more competition. LSU really hasn't played anybody. Both these teams just started off anew, really. going back to last year. I think LSU, though, the money's come on K-State. I'd take LSU money line, though. If you can get like plus 115, I think they can win this game. I think they have a little bit better offense, so I'd lean them.
All right, leaning toward LSU here in this one. All right, next up, we've got Georgia Tech and Marquette. Marquette 7-point home favorites, 146 being the total in this game. Certainly, I'm not a big fan of Georgia Tech, but I will admit that they've outperformed obviously my expectations in a couple games, because there's been a couple times I've bet against Georgia Tech and they've found ways to get the job done. And look, they are 3-1. Straight up 3-0 ATS in line games this year. Give them credit. I mean, they hung tough. They came back against Utah after a bad start and lost by 4 last night. Marquette loses 58-55 against a good Mississippi State team. Nothing wrong with that, other than offensively. They just couldn't make a shot, it looked like, in that game. Georgia Tech trending under. They look like they're improved a little bit on the defensive end of the court this year. Marquette. I mean, they holding Purdue to 75 is actually not bad. The LIU only scores 58, and again, Mississippi State only 58 in that game. So the total yet is being hammered up to 146, 146 and a half. Maybe buying low on two teams that struggled to shoot the basketball, perhaps in their losses yesterday. But when you look at the defensive numbers early in the year for Georgia Tech and for Marquette, for that reason, they're both a little bit better than their offensive numbers. I mean, Georgia Tech's only shooting 40% from the field. That's 309 in the country. So Marquette does play fast. I don't know if that's enough of justification for the total to go from 142 to 146 and a half. I think it's a move that's peculiar to me anyway when I look at it. So I'm passing the game. I mean, I'm done fading Georgia Tech for now. Neutral court getting 7, laying 7 with Marquette, just a little too rich for my blood. What do you think here, C-Mac?
Yeah, I think these teams, they just think, we're going to shoot better, as they were just off them. We'll get to the Mississippi State and their defense. That's really good. I don't know what to make of this Georgia Tech team. This isn't a game I really want to get involved with. I think Marquette in the end's a little bit of the better team. I can score it, but do I want to lay this with them? No. So this game was just a pass.
A pass for Conor there. And the other game in that venue, Suncoast Credit Union Arena, we got Utah and Mississippi State, the two teams that won their game last night, now meeting in the final. Mississippi State 6-point favorites here, 124 the total in this game. Good matchup. Mississippi State 5-0. They've looked really good. I like Chris Jans. Like I said, it was a good hire here. They've gotten off to a solid start. They really and they've looked good in their two toughest games, Akron and Marquette, winning both of those games. Utah, on the other hand, letting a big lead slip away against Georgia Tech, and they hang on for a 4-point victory. Before that, they had played Sam Houston State, lost as favorites. Idaho State didn't cover, only won by 12. I do think Mississippi State's the better team. I like what I'm seeing from this Bulldogs team. I lean to them laying the 6. I might. I think I'll probably lay the 6 here, a small bet. Like I was just saying, these finals, I don't like laying moderate points. It just feels like somehow, some way, the other team, even if they're down 10 or 12, they're going to battle back because it's a championship game in a neutral court tournament. But I certainly would look at Mississippi State, just to be safe, to avoid that fate happening, because we've seen a lot of second halves where teams are with the lead or letting the other team back into it. Maybe you split it up here, first half, full game split, potentially on Mississippi State. If I were to bet a side, that's what I would go with here. What do you think here, Conor? Mississippi State, Utah.
Yeah, Mississippi State, just the defense is really good. It just seems like they could pull out a win. And I don't know. When I have teams like this, I don't love laying points, with a team like this. It doesn't score a bunch. They're very good defensively on a neutral court. Championship games. It's hate to say on a lot of these, I don't have a lot to say. And I don't know about Utah. They're that very good. We saw Sam Houston. I think I'm high on them, but to beat Utah and Utah, I just don't think they're very good. They haven't been good ATS the last few years anywhere, neutral game or on the road. But I'd be off. I still think the game could stay under this total, 125.
All right, lean toward the under here for Conor with Utah, Mississippi State. All right, next up we've got, I believe the game, USC BYU has started already, so we'll have to skip that. We'll go to Tennessee and Butler, the final game at the Battle for Atlantis down in the Bahamas. We had Kansas beat NC State earlier today, and much to my chagrin, I took Dayton against Wisconsin, and Wisconsin won by a point. Ugly, 43-42. Talk about nails on a chalkboard on offense in that game. And Wisconsin ends up getting an ugly victory, but a victory nevertheless. The nightcap in the Bahamas is Tennessee Butler. Tennessee 7-point favorites, 134.5 the total. That's been, I kind of lean to the under as well. Thad Matta bringing his more half-court defensive-minded brand of basketball to Butler. I'm not ready to trust Tennessee just yet. I mean, Tennessee had that brutal game against Colorado. They did bounce back. They blew out Florida Gulf Coast, but it's still, they're having some guard play issues. They're having some turnover issues. Their defense hasn't been necessarily subpar. I mean, we're used to Rick Barnes' Tennessee team shitting the bed and underachieving in March. They're not wasting time this year. Maybe, hey, we're going to underachieve in November and December this year as well. I like Butler a little bit here. I mean, 7.5 point dog on a neutral court. Favorite I don't trust. Favorite having issues with guard play, with shooting, with turnovers. Defense doesn't even look like it's nearly as good as it's been in the past. Give me Butler here, plus 7.5 here. Suspect, questionable Volunteers team at the moment for me. What do you think here, C-Mac?
Yeah, just so early in the year. I just couldn't lay it here with Tennessee. I do think they're the better of these two teams, in the end as the year goes on. And you know how much I love to fade Tennessee at the end of the year and Barnes. But I got to see more of Butler. I thought they looked, all right, that loss to Penn State. I think Tennessee's got the more talent here. I just don't love laying 7 on the neutral floor. So I'm going to be off.
Passing on this one here, in this one, Connor Mack. All right, look, back to Maui. But this is the consolation bracket, the losers bracket, if you will, because there's actually two. It's weird. They did this for television because ESPN's got NBA tonight on their network. They wanted to put the final on ESPN, but the only way they could do it is put it on now before the NBA starts. So the final is going on now, Creighton and Arizona, and then they got the losers bracket, the consolation games on later tonight on ESPN2 or ESPNU, whatever it is. So you got Louisville and Cincinnati. Again, consolation games here in the Maui Invitational. Cincinnati, 8.5 point favorites, 131 the total in this game. I laid it with Cincinnati, Connor. I mean, I'm not even thinking twice about it anymore. That is how bad Louisville is. This is a pathetic team. Pathetic. They're pathetically coached.
Yeah, that was pathetic.
Kenny Payne looks overwhelmed. He doesn't look like he has a clue what lineups to go with, what to do, what adjustments to make. And he's got horrible guard play. They can't shoot straight. The defense is, they try a little bit on defense, but they're not good enough to overcome all the issues here. Wait, before I continue, we've got to show this right now. Unbelievable. El Dorado Custodian, my man, $100 donor.
Shout out.
We appreciate that a lot. We give thanks to that. Great donation. Definitely. On this Thanksgiving Eve. So thank you very much, my friend. Awesome stuff. Appreciate it. Awesome. Love it. Love it. We appreciate you enjoying the show every day as well. So great stuff from El Dorado Custodian. Wow. $100 dono, my man. Thank you very much for that. Appreciate it. Louisville, you're right. Horrible guard play. I mean, just a total mess. Cincinnati, like I say, is no great shakes, but we're seeing this team losing by double digits, like by 20 and by 30, to teams here in this tournament. And I know Cincinnati's not the best Cincy team that we've seen. They had an ugly game against Ohio State yesterday, but we also saw them good enough to, battle, for a long time against Arizona earlier in this tournament. I think you just fade Louisville until proven otherwise. So the betting markets agree. This opened at 5. It's gone up to 8. I like Cincy here -8. Connor, what do you think?
Yeah, it's gotten away here a little bit. At 5 is where I liked it. 8's creeping there, but how do you want to back this?
Has it gotten away?
I mean, no, but Cincinnati just got their doors blown off. Looked like they quit in the second half of that Ohio State. Ohio State's okay. And they just got ripped. They went back to their old ways where they can't fucking score. And they couldn't in that second half of Ohio State game. But fucking shout out to our guy, El Dorado Custodian. Again, $100 dono. Shout out to my guy, Nunya, $4.99. Fuck yeah. I'm going to be saying fuck a lot all of a sudden. Shout out to also a couple of guys that joined. Who was it? Sharon and Burke, Dave Burke, joining us as memberships. We appreciate it, man. Yeah, Cincy. Got me all fucked up. I love the donos. Hit it.
There we go. All right. Good stuff. Yeah, we appreciate it, guys. You're giving the thanks for Pub Sports Radio. You're giving thanks on the eve of Thanksgiving for Pub Sports Radio and all that we do, and we appreciate that very much with the donos, no doubt about that. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. All right, the other game, the last game in Maui, it's the other consolation game. It's, I guess, the third place game. Arkansas and San Diego State. I guess this would be the bronze medal game if it were the Olympics. We've got San Diego State 1.5 point favorites here, 144 the total. This should be a really good game. I mean, Arkansas lost to Creighton in a great semifinal last night, and San Diego State lost to Arizona. So, but these are two really good, and I think they both played well in defeat. You know, I thought Arkansas played great against Creighton, even though they lost. I thought San Diego State played good for a half and a bit, and then the offense just dried up, and that's when Arizona pulled away. I kind of think San Diego State, if they're not completely I think it's going to be tougher for this young Arizona team to bounce back. They were right in that game and they lost. I think San Diego State might be the side here in this game. If I were to lean one direction, I'd lean Aztecs here. Don't love it because you just don't know psychologically where each team's going to be after losing yesterday. But I think it's going to be tougher for Arkansas because they were just right there with Creighton. They lost. Whereas San Diego State, they knew with 6 minutes left, they weren't going to win that game. So I lean Aztecs a little bit. More of a veteran team, too. Maybe a little easier for them to bounce back. What do you think here, Connor?
You know, this game, to me, is like coin flip. It's just like, how are the psyche of these two teams? What's the third game in a row? You know, they lost last night. These are ones, though, if you're sitting bet live, you know, where you can find some, if you can watch a game or two, look at this one later tonight. Because, yeah, I can go back and forth on both of these teams, and really, there's nothing here.
But like I said, I would prefer the Aztecs a little bit before I take Arkansas in this spot. All right, Minnesota and UNLV. We got the Rebels, 4-point favorites here, 125.5, 126 being the total in this game. UNLV, how about this 5-0 start to the season for this UNLV Rebels team? It's been pretty impressive to see how they have started out of the gate. No question about that. We'll see if they can keep it up here against Minnesota. I will say this, though. They did beat Dayton at 60-52. So you can't say that they haven't played. Everybody's been a weak team. I know Incarnate Word, High Point, are in there. Southern Illinois is solid. They beat them. I mean, I like what I'm seeing out of UNLV. And I'll be honest with this Minnesota team, it hasn't been great shakes for them. They lost to DePaul. They won every other game, but not convincing against Central Michigan or Western Michigan, and certainly not convincing last night against Cal Baptist, 62-61. They won in overtime a couple of nights ago against Cal Baptist. I had Minnesota as a slight dog. Very fortunate to escape with the victory. I think UNLV wins. Do you want to lay 4 is the question, but I'd still lean UNLV. I don't know if I trust Minnesota right now in this matchup. What do you think here, Con?
Yeah, I lean UNLV here too. When I got this game, I wish this, was under the 3, just a bucket. But even at 4, I got to lean them. Other than, High Point, any of these, against a decent team, they've been on the under. There's tons of over money here in this basketball game. He thinks these teams are going to shoot well after they haven't lately. So I'm going to stay off there, but it hasn't moved. It's actually gone down, to 126, 125.5. So that's interesting on this total. But yeah, give me the Rebels. I don't think Minnesota's very good. I think they could win, and cover this number.
I think so too. I might end up laying the 4. I mean, it's like I say, it's gone up a bit, but I think it's warranted. And when you look at it, Gilbert, Minnesota, terrible free throw shooting team. Connor, 54.5% from the free throw line. That's just terrible, awful.
That's horrible in a close game. They turn it over. UNLV's been great at getting turnovers. Their defense, and Gilbert and Harkless have really stepped up as kind of the go-to players for the Rebels. So, yeah, to me, it's Rebels or pass.
Harkless. There you go. Harkless there for the Rebels getting the job done there. All right. Next up, we got Bradley and Liberty. Liberty 2-point favorites, 132 being the total in this game. I cashed a ticket against Bradley yesterday. Connor Mack was relatively easy. Auburn just put the boots to them, 85-64. Figured it was going to be a tough matchup. Liberty got their I don't know if I can get there again with Liberty, man. I mean, that's now 3 games. They got blown out by Alabama, lose to Southern, although Southern Miss, as I've said, is playing better. But to lose by 14 against Northwestern, the offense just nothing in that game for Liberty. That's concerning. It feels like, again, this is ultra cheap. This feels like a huge bargain to bet Liberty, because Liberty should beat Bradley, but something's not right with them. Richie McKay's team is not clicking right now on all cylinders, and that's concerning. I lean Liberty, but I'm getting cold feet after what I saw yesterday, losing with them against Northwestern. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, I don't want either of these teams, but I'd lean Bradley a little bit. I think they could beat Liberty. Liberty's not look good. Every D1 team they played, they have looked like shit here. So I think the Braves are a little bit better shooting team here. I think they could win. I think they could beat Liberty.
All right, we go to the two teams that won yesterday here at the Riviera Division, Hard Rock Arena, Auburn, Northwestern. Auburn 7.5-point favorites, 134. Now, I'm back on Auburn here in this game. Auburn is just rolling right now, and I think they're too much for Northwestern. We talked about, Northwestern looked great yesterday. Liberty's not playing well. I think that played a bigger part in it than Northwestern looking good. I think there's going to be a much tougher matchup here. Auburn, I don't know if I've seen Auburn to start a season play better defensively than they have early on under Bruce Pearl here. 5-0. They've been just amazing at the defensive end of the basketball court, giving up just 37% shooting. They're 48th in the country field goal percentage defense, and that's good to see for this Auburn team. And you look at Northwestern, it's still a team that can struggle to score points. They're only 41.7% shooting. As a team, they really rely on three-point shooting, Northwestern. Auburn can take that away. Auburn is giving up just 26.7% from three-point range. That means you can take away the strength offensively of the Wildcats. The Tigers can do that with that great three-point defense. So I think that's all very significant here in this matchup. And again, when you look at these two teams, I think that's going to end up being the difference. In Northwestern, you beat Liberty, but you played Georgetown, you played NIU, you played Purdue Fort Wayne. You're going to be in for a much taller challenge here against Auburn, who, again, destroyed Bradley. They've destroyed pretty much every team they've played, including a very solid George Mason team in their opener by 18. I thought, normally I don't love laying points, moderate points, bigger points on the neutral court, but I'm going to do it here with Auburn. I think they can I think they can get a double digit, like a 10, 12-point win here against Northwestern. What do you think here, Connor?
Maybe you're right. I do know one thing. They have the better athletes, better team here, Auburn, and they should put it to Northwestern. Northwestern so far has just been slow. These games haven't scored much. It's been a little strange here. So I lean to this under. And you flip to the other side, how good Auburn's defense has been, which is a little surprising. It's still early in the year. They haven't played really anybody, but we're just going off those games. So you got to say their defense has been good. But, I like the under here. It's crept a little far, on a neutral floor, like you're saying, maybe double-digit win, is 8.5 or 9. Now, when it gets there, is that maybe too much? I don't know. Auburn should win here. It's just a lean, but I like the under better.
All right, so liking the under and a lean to Auburn here in this one. All right, next we go to the Wooden Classic here. Next up, I believe, Wooden Legacy, as they call it, in Anaheim Convention Center. Fresno State taking on Washington. We got Washington, 3-point favorites in this one, 125.5 the total in this game. Interesting matchup here. We got Fresno really reeling to begin the season, and I've faded actually Fresno a couple of times. 0-3, they are straight up in ATS in line games. Santa Barbara, they lose by 7. San Francisco, they lose by 7. North Texas, they lose by 9. 0-3 again, ATS as well in those games. Now for Washington, the schedule's been a little bit light, what they've faced so far. Last game was against Cal Baptist, and they ended up losing that game 73-64, outright as favorites. Really poor performance from the Huskies. They did beat Utah Tech, North Florida before that. Didn't cover there, but they pummeled Weber State 69-52 in their first game. It looks like, too, what you concern yourself with, too, from a Fresno State standpoint, is they do have a couple of injuries. That's also something you want to keep in mind. For Washington, it looks like they are also battling a couple of injuries that are noteworthy. In particular, the absence of Noah Williams here for Washington, someone that can average double figures and has averaged double figures in points for them in the past. We'll see if that continues. I think what you like here in this matchup here for Washington is that Fresno is a horrible offensive team. They've not been able to get the job done shooting the basketball, and Washington's been pretty good at the defensive end much of the season. Something you definitely have to take note of in this matchup. Washington's been good at the three-point shot, which you would expect on the zone type of team like Washington. There's 80th in the country shooting the three ball. Fresno's defense has been pretty solid, but they've been a little bit weaker with their perimeter defense, which, again, is not what you want against Washington. So I think I would take the Huskies here if I were to. I think Fresno's really having a tough time early in the season. The number's gone up just a little bit, 2-3. Washington -3, I think, is the way I would bet it. What do you think, Connor?
I want to take Fresno in this game, but they can't score. I mean, it's like 330 or whatever it is. All their shot going through all their stuff today. It's just horrible. God, they can't make a shot. I don't love Washington either, though. They've been all right. I guess the short line at home, I just couldn't get there. And I can't find a way. I'd lean to Fresno. I just can't do it. I gotta see them score. And maybe they will. Can they keep shooting this freaking bad? Who knows? But man, they can't break 60. You're right. They'll lose.
Right, next up, we've got St. Mary's and Vanderbilt. Same venue there, the Wooden Legacy in Anaheim. This is a midnight start, midnight Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific on the West Coast, so it's a late game, definitely this one. We've got St. Mary's, 7.5, 8-point favorites, 125 the total in this one. Long travel. First of all, there's two things that are good for St. Mary's and that are bad for Vanderbilt. First is the travel. Vanderbilt's got to go from Nashville all the way to Anaheim. It's much easier travel for St. Mary's, already being situated out there. And St. Mary's defense, man, it could be for real. I mean, they don't make it easy to score against them. They have put up some just phenomenal defensive numbers early in the season. 6th in the country, points per game allowed, 23rd field goal percentage. They've been absolutely magnificent. And Vanderbilt is still struggling offensively consistently, to adjust to life without Scottie Pippen Jr., who was like their all-world scorer last year, of course. I know they put up 76 against a bad Moorhead team, 89, but that was an overtime game against Temple. They also had games Memphis shut them down. Southern Miss, they were 16-point favorites at home. They lost 60-48. They could not make a shot in that game. And I don't know if any of those teams, Memphis can play pretty good defense. So could Southern Miss. I don't know if any of those teams are as good defensively as what I'm seeing out of the Gales right now. Randy Bennett's team is playing some serious freaking defense right now. This could be tough for Vanderbilt to get their offense going. I think St. Mary's, they play slow. I think they grind their way to a victory. And look, to be honest, they haven't been grinding their way to victories this year. They've been kicking ass in every game. Outside of Oral Roberts, it's been one blowout after another. Beat Vermont by 26, beat North Texas by 30, beat Southern by 18. Just destroy. Hofstra's a good freaking team out of the Colonial. They've a good offensive team. And St. Mary's hammers them 76-48. I mean, that was really what opened my eyes. Like, holy shit, this is a hell of a defensive team. I got to think with Vanderbilt scuffling offensively in multiple games this year against teams that I don't think are as good defensively as St. Mary's. I got to think St. Mary's can get themselves up to a 10-point type of victory. So I'm going to lay it here with St. Mary's, and the situational advantage too. Close to home for St. Mary's, long travel for Vanderbilt. So in Anaheim. So I like St. Mary's. I like the under too. It's just very low, but I can't make a case for the over. I definitely think this is going to be a lower scoring game. Just, do you want to bet under 124.5? That's the question. What do you think here, C-Mac?
Yeah, I'm not big on this Vandy. Vandy, though, going back, has been good on a neutral site. But you just mentioned, I think the growing pains and no Pippen. We've talked about that since the beginning. It's just showing up. Their defense is very good. St. Mary's defense has been good, and they've been able to score, on these teams so far. I'd lay it as well. I know, about 6.5 is about as far as 7. But I think they can win. I think they cover here.
Wait, their leading scorer, Vanderbilt, Jordan Wright, 11.3 points per game. It tells you. And he's their leading scorer, and that's only 11.3 points per game. They really are, by committee, scoring team. And they don't have that one guy that can, when the defense is suffocating, can make a crazy shot at the end of the shot clock. And you need something like that when you play a defense like St. Mary's. That's why I think it could be really tough to find offense tonight if you're Vanderbilt here in this game. All right, that was the marquee games. We got through all of them. We'll get to Q&A. Now's the time to start funneling in some questions in the chat for games we did not talk about already on the show. Connor Mack, are there any other games you want to hit tonight?
No.
Not at all. There you go.
Too early in the year. Yeah, for me.
I don't have a ton either, because really we got through many of the other games. I mean, Kent, I am on the over with Charleston again. What else is new there? I've talked about constantly how that team just flies over the total. So I'm back to another College of Charleston over against Kent State in that game. I'm laying 8.5 with Florida International. Stony Brook's in a bad way. I mean, they got blown out by Florida. They've had some injuries early in the season. I think Florida International, they play that up-tempo, push the basketball style, really could wear down a shorthanded, depleted Stony Brook team. So I laid 8.5, 9 with Florida International in that game. Oh, I'm shocked I didn't put this on the marquee games, but I'll talk about it now. Pepperdine and UCLA in the late night hours. UCLA, I think Pepperdine can hang in that game. Kind of a flat spot. UCLA's played some big games, tough competition the last few. And now all of a sudden you're going to play in late 16 against Pepperdine can flat out score. And they've actually got some. I think this is one of the more talented offensive teams that Pepperdine's had and Romar's had. I think they can hang inside of a big number like this. And UCLA is one of those teams from a total standpoint. If the team they play wants to play slow, they'll play slow. They'll play in the half court. If the team they play wants to go up and down the court and play transition basketball, UCLA will oblige as well. So because I think Pepperdine is one of those teams they push pace, I think UCLA will go along with that. So I understand and I agree with the total going up from 149.5 to 152 in that game. I do think it'll go over the total. So there you go. Anything there, Connor? Pepperdine, UCLA.
Yeah, I took this over at 150.5. I think it goes over. And yeah, I'd like to have 20 with Pepperdine, but maybe they can hang a little bit with the 16. And UCLA, like you mentioned, can play it slow, but they've been playing up. Overs have been money for them. So I'm not going to jump off the train.
All right, there we go. Good stuff. All right, so let's get to the and really on the added board is there's only a couple I think that I maybe looked at there. Merrimack plus 20 against Providence. I took a little Merrimack, slow pace. I mean, just don't get blown out. Play some decent defense. There's still a little bit of me that thinks Providence, all the luck they had last year and how they won so many close games. Providence is good. Cooley's done a great job there, but I thought Merrimack getting 20 was a few too many points for Providence to be laying in that game. I'm on a couple of overs, I believe, as well. Yeah, Alabama State, Duquesne. I took that game over the total. And I also looked at, let's see, there's one. Oh, it's already started, I think. Yeah, North Florida. Yeah, North Florida, Kentucky's already underway. I was on the over in that game. And, yeah, it's in the second half, actually. So that was it from the added board. So we'll get to questions in the chat here from everybody. See what we've got. We'll start with Kyle Hintlian, our guy, Texas A&M Corpus Christi. I like them, actually, a little bit. I lean to them laying 3.5, 4 against Alcorn State. I think they probably find a way to get the win and the cover there in that game. They're off to a solid 3-2 start. I think the key matchup in this game favoring A&M Corpus Christi is the fact that, Alcorn State really is a horrendous offensive team. And I think that's going to end up being one of the key difference makers. Much better free throw shooting team as well is A&M Corpus Christi, and I think that probably will end up being the difference in the end. So I'm with you. I would lean toward laying the home favorite there.
I think that's going to be a good basketball game. I think that's kind of a coin flip. I think Alcorn State played decent, to start the year. Yeah, that one's tough for me. I kind of want the points with Alcorn, but I need a little bit more.
All right, Idaho State from Arthur Meade against Lindenwood. Again, Lindenwood's one of these newbies here to the D1 ranks. Kind of like, Stonehill's been the team where I think they've been mispriced and they're undervalued. Lindenwood, maybe they are too, because that's 2 in a row. Underdogs, they won 78-60, 7-point dogs against McNeese State, and then they were 7-point dogs at Western Carolina. Now, these aren't great teams, but, they only lost that game by 2 in overtime. The betting markets look like they're a little lagging behind on Lindenwood, that maybe Lindenwood's better than what the odds makers think. So I wouldn't be in a rush to fade Lindenwood. They look like they're a little undervalued in the betting markets right now. It's not like Idaho State's one of those teams. It's like, yeah, let's lay 1.5 with them in this type of matchup here on the road. I'm not really ready to do that. So I could kind of lean here to Lindenwood, but I stayed off the game. I didn't end up betting it.
Yeah, I'm off. Nothing for me there.
All right. Now, next up here, let's see who else we've got. I think there's not a whole lot of other games like we've on the schedule, so it's just a couple. I think that's about it here. Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, there we go. In that, on the Utah game, Star Child. Yeah, we mentioned Utah and Mississippi State. I like Mississippi State there. I'll probably end up laying the 6 when it's all, or at least splitting it up first half, full game. I like that way of going about it because I've been done in by some second halves. I was done in by a second half with Utah yesterday. Utah's rolling against Georgia Tech. They let Georgia Tech back into the game, and they don't cover the full game. So they cover the first half, but not the full game. So that's probably why I'll gravitate toward probably the first half full game split when it comes to the game there with Mississippi State against Utah. Yeah, we talked Butler. I like Butler a little bit. Rocco Rogers, Auburn, all these games we talked about it. Yeah, Indiana, Little Rock. I like the over a little bit there. Silver Malco. That one I think gets over the total. I wanted to lay it with Indiana too, but 30 was a lot. But I don't want Little Rock, and you should get a lot of pace in that game. I think it goes over the total. Little Rock, Indiana. Anything else? One last chance here. Speak now, Connor Mack, or forever hold your peace. Any other games we didn't mention that you want to talk about or have a lean on?
Nope. I think we're good.
I
I
think
wonder
we're
what
good.
Cal Baptist could do with Southern Illinois.
Yeah.
I don't know if I take them, but I think that could be a low score. Obviously, the total's fucking 120, but tight game.
Yeah, I was impressed with Cal Baptist to the point where I'd lean Cal Baptist in that game, but I don't like betting teams off an overtime game. That being said, Richmond got it done against Temple yesterday after an overtime game. So, yeah, I think Cal Baptist, I would lean with them a little bit against Southern Illinois. And yeah, we did talk about Auburn. I laid it with Auburn against Northwestern tonight. So there we go. All right, and UCF over Evansville. Yeah, I don't want Evansville. I know that. I do not want to back Evansville. I don't see much I like, but are we ready to lay 14.5 with UCF? They haven't been good enough for me to trust them laying 14.5, so that's an easy pass for me in that one. And did we talk Butler, Tennessee? Yeah, Butler. Conor leans that way, and I do like Butler. Butler plus 7.5 there against Tennessee. Way guys in the chat that are asking the UCLA game, we just talked about them minutes ago. Same with Providence. We talked about that.
Over.
I like Merrimack a little bit, plus 20 against Providence. I think that's just asking Providence to cover a few too many points in that game as big 20-point favorites. And the one thing Merrimack will do, play in the half court and slow it down and play some defense. Hopefully that will be enough for them to stay within 20 of Providence in that game. All right, we will get to best bets to wrap up the show and wrap up the week before Thanksgiving. We will be back on Friday, and as of right now, it's probably going to be Connor Mack and Dabby Cab on Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern time. As long as Dabby Cab's good to go, he'll probably take my spot because Friday's a busy day, and I wouldn't mind the show off that day because I've already got Jimmy and Ice Guy's show and NBA Pub Hub that day, so it might be Dabby Cab filling in for me on Friday. And then I'll be back all 5 days of the week with the Net Profit Show every day starting next week. So looking forward to that. And also, of course, I'm sure all of you looking forward to Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving to everyone in the chat. And thanks again to Custodian and Nunya and everyone else that donated here on the show today. We appreciate you guys very much. El Dorado Custodian and Nunya for your donations. We appreciate it very much. Make sure you hit the like button in that one. And I passed on that game, the Riverside game, Nunya, so I can't give you anything there with that one.
Riverside.
All right.
You know what? Real quick, I do touch on the Florida Gulf Coast. I like the under. It's just fall too much. I can't give it out. 131. But I like that under. Let's just say that. And I think it's a close game.
Yeah, there we go. Wake Forest. I mean, I ain't stepping in front of Wake. I like Wake. I like Steve Forbes. It's just that's a lot of points, 26. And I've seen Wake kind of go through the motions at times where they're really big favorites. They should whip South Carolina State, but that's just a lot of points. Yeah.
Their defense, I think, is a little lax
at times. And that's concerning when you're laying that kind of number. No question about that. Great game, by the way, Creighton and Arizona. Back and forth they go. 32-28 for Arizona late in the first half. Can't wait to watch the rest of that game, which I will do right after we wrap up the show and give you some best bets. Those are coming up. Hit the like button. Make sure you do that if you haven't done so already. We appreciate it. We got best bets coming right up after we hear from Manscaped and Southtown 101. All right, Southtown 101. When you're in San Antonio, Texas, stop in. Great food, drinks, live music, DJs, karaoke, Southtown 101 and manscaped.com. Get 20% off your purchase, Lawnmower 4.0 or any Manscaped product, 20% off with promo code PubSports. Make sure you become a member, too. Pub Sports Radio, $4.99 a month, 18 cents a day. It's totally worth it. Make sure you get on board. Join the Pub Hub, Pub Sports Radio fam, $4.99 a month. Make sure you become a YouTube Pub Sports Radio channel member. All right, best bets to wrap it up. Trying to bounce back and pick myself up off the mat after a rough, tough beat last night with Nevada in overtime. We'll see if we can bounce back tonight. Yeah, that's all right. It's long season, and always the good thing about doing this show 5 days a week, it'll be 6 days a week once we get to January. We always have the next day to bounce back in the next card. Conor, Mac, what are you looking at here for tonight with best bet?
Yeah, it's tough to give me the Pepperdine UCLA. Obviously, that over. By the time we do the show, it's too late. But UNLV, lay the 4. They win tonight.
UNLV, go, fight, win, cover as well. UNLV -4 against Minnesota for Conor Mack with his best bet for this Wednesday night card. My best bet for this slate, let me just see. It's a tough night. There's a lot of games I like but don't love. I'm going to go Butler. I just don't love Tennessee really right now. 7.5 plus 7.5 Butler Bulldogs against the Tennessee Volunteers. I think we've got ourselves a competitive game there. Again, when we saw Tennessee earlier this year play Colorado, that was an ugly performance. This is going to be a good test for them. That guard play right now against a team that'll play D, that'll guard like Butler will. I wonder if they're going to ever score enough tonight to pull away and win by margin, and they're going to have to, laying 7.5 in this game. So let's go Butler plus 7.5 against Tennessee for my best bet for this Wednesday night card. That'll wrap up this edition of College Basketball Net Profit. Hit the like button on the way out. We're off tomorrow, but we'll be back on Friday. And even though this show and the NBA Pub Hub are off tomorrow, our friend Jimmy the Bag is not. He is a psychopath, and for that reason, he is going to be doing live bet streams for all 3 NFL games tomorrow. Bills, Lions, Giants, Cowboys, Patriots, Vikings. That's just, and you know what? I said this on the last show, Connor. If he was in a fucking losing streak on the best live bet streams right now, he wouldn't be interested in doing these. But he's on a heater right now.
He's ready to drink a bottle of Kraken and be on there all day long.
That too, the Kraken. I think he just wants to get pissed drunk off Kraken all day on American Thanksgiving. I think that's why he wants to. So I know Connor's going to join him, I think, for a bit of it tomorrow. I would have been on most of the day. I might be back for the tail end of the Patriots-Vikings when I get back home from being with my buddies tomorrow. So I might join for the tail end of the Minnesota game at night tomorrow if he's still standing, that is, which we don't know.
Yeah.
He's a trooper, though. He's going to be on from 12:30 until what the fuck? I mean, the Viking game won't be over to 11 p.m. Eastern time or something. So I get, God love him. I mean, doing all that. But so join Jimmy, at least if he's doing the shows. If you're not with family, you're not around the dinner table, you're just kicking it yourself on a Thanksgiving Thursday, tune in and join Jimmy. Give him some company tomorrow because he's going out on a limb. He's going to be hosting betcasts for all 3 NFL games tomorrow. So definitely looking forward to that. If you're around, definitely check that out. All right. We'll be back Friday. Like we said, 5 p.m. Eastern. It'll be Dabby Cab and Conor Mack most likely. on the show Friday to break down the college basketball slate. For Conor, Mac, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Wednesday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody in the chat. Enjoy the holiday tomorrow. And we'll be back Friday for another edition of College Basketball Net Profit right here on Pub Sports Radio.